name is Leanne Govea. I'm the Executive Director of Fresno Survivors of Suicide Loss and an alumni here at Fresno State. I lost my mother, Sharon Ann Ennis, to suicide on November 21st, 1994. She was 51 years old.
My name is Angel Moreno. I'm a current student at Fresno State, and I'm here to talk about my friend Monique.
My name is Paul Ogden, and I'm Professor Emeritus from California State University, Fresno. I'm here to share my brother's story. His name is David. I was 11 when he killed himself. He was 24.
I'm Carolyn Brown. I'm a nurse working presently in Visalia, and I'm here today to speak to you about my daughter, Carrie Jorgensen, who was a student athlete here at Fresno State in the past. She started here in 1991 and was a basketball player till 1996.
I had 3 older brothers, and each one is very different. David was really the manly big brother. He seemed to provide the protection for all the other boys. David was very sensitive, very caring, and really had a strong sense for social justice. One time he brought home a rat who was named George, and he thought that it would be a perfect present for me.
Monique and I, we got to know each other in high school. We both went to Sanger High School. The start of sophomore year came, we started hanging out a lot more. And that's when I realized I really had a good friend. That's when I realized, this girl, she's cool. She's down to earth. She's funny. She's a prankster. She's very positive. It seemed like when she was around her friends and the people she really cared about. One time I let her borrow my car, and she returned it, but there were handprints everywhere. And she knew I was particularly picky about my windows. This is when I first got my car, so I would make sure it was clean, from the inside to the outside, the windows. And she would nitpick you. She would find your pet peeve and she'd abuse it, but in a good way. She wouldn't do it to make you angry. She'd just do it to say, hey, I know that makes you mad, and I'm just doing it to mess with you, to put a smile on your face, because it puts a smile on mine.
My mother was an avid reader, leaving behind over 1,000 books in her personal library when she passed away. And she liked to laugh. She liked to laugh a lot. She liked jokes. I have a brother who's 3 years younger than me, and she was always involved in our school activities on the PTA and come to our classroom and volunteered, and kind of known as, I had the pretty mother. All the kids would say, it's kind of funny, but they would say, oh, your mother is so pretty. It's like 3rd grade, 4th grade, and I'd say, oh my God, she's my mother. You're like, your mother's not supposed to be pretty, she's just your mother.
Oh, Carrie was the best daughter and one of the worst daughters. She was a little Dickens when she was little, hard to raise. But somewhere around high school, she just made a transition she accepted the fact that she was dyslexic and her limitations, and she blossomed as an athlete and a child I was just so proud of.
I do notice the warning signs that Monique displayed. Some verbal, some more subtle than others. For instance, she'd say, I don't want to be here anymore. And I remember one time I was driving her home, or I had actually just picked her up from her house. And she was like, thank you so much for coming. I just can't stand this. I just can't wait to be gone.
She began to change about July, and I began to notice she began changing her friends. She became more withdrawn. And when I spoke to her about this, she said, Mom, I'm just scared. I'm leaving everything I've known. And she said, I'm afraid to go out in the world and be a person, not a basketball player.
My mother had been planning her death for 10 months, and I know that because she wrote that to me in her last letter. And she said she'd been planning this for 10 months. So it's as if I was watching my mother die right in front of my face, and I didn't know it. She knew it, but I didn't know it. And what I didn't realize were the very behaviors and situations that she was in and the clues that she was giving off, the verbal statements. I didn't know that those were warning signs, and they were. She was giving away prized possessions. She was saying things like, I wish I could go to sleep and never wake up. I'm just so tired, I can't take care of myself anymore. My mother had very low self-esteem, very low self-worth. The emotional abuse in the home between she and my father. The fact that she stuffed her problems inside. She didn't deal with her problems. She kept everything inside.
I was aware of the depression that he was suffering from, but I didn't realize the severity of his depression. Growing up, I saw him crying very frequently, and he did have a lack of confidence. He also struggled sometimes during social outings and social events, but I did not fully comprehend it all. My enthusiasm was just to pray for him, and I always went up to him and asked if he wanted me to pray that his headaches would go away.
It was January 18th. The Doobie Brothers were playing in Visalia. And it was very unusual for Carrie not to want to go with us. Her brother was going with his girlfriend. We were meeting friends. And she says, no, I want to do some stuff around the house. And so I thought it was unusual. When I was leaving, she hugged me and she says, Mom, I love you, which wasn't unusual, but a little. And her stepdad, she punched in the shoulder and said, love you, man. And those were the last words we both heard. I never thought she would take her life, never.
It was just a normal day at school, Tuesday in May. And it seemed like everything was going to be perfectly fine that day. I saw Monique that morning, and I told her, I said, hey, what's up? And she said, hey, I'm going to go to lunch with Bree. And that was one of her friends. And I said, all right, go to lunch. And I went to lunch too, and I said, see you later, love you, buddy. And that was the last time I saw her. I went to the store after school that day, and I got a phone call from my friend Sam. She goes, Angel. And I said, yeah, it's Monique. She killed herself. What? Monique, she shot herself. And I go, are you kidding me? Is this a joke? That answer that she was seeking was an answer to a temporary problem. Because I knew her struggles wouldn't be forever. It was just a matter of letting her know that.
When people bring up my mother, I feel comfort. I feel memory, good memories because of the connection. My last connection with my mother was her life and her death. I feel blessed and pleased that I have been able to empower myself with knowledge and information, and I couldn't save my mother, but maybe I can save somebody else.
I feel so strongly that mental health, mental illness is so put aside and not thought of as a real disease. And coming from a medical background, I feel so strongly about this. To encourage those who hear people crying for help and to continue to push and not give up on them.
There are others around you, those that really care about you, that also believe in you, even if you don't to the fullest.
I'm pleased to say that our community does offer a lot of support, and the changes that I see now compared to 50 years ago, we've come a long way. And I just wish that David was around to be able to take advantage of all these services that are being offered.
If you have a feeling something isn't right, something isn't right. Acknowledge it and don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of the answer. Never be afraid. I feel very, very powerful, and I know my mother would be so proud. She didn't think she meant something in this world, and she did.
Before David took his own life, he wrote letters to everyone in our family. So we have a stack of letters about 1 inch high that he wrote. He wrote one specifically to me, and I would like to share that with you. It says, "Dear Paul, I love you very much. Remember to love others more than anything else in the world, and you will be happy."